She was going to stay with it, the EWB chapter.
Yeah, I think that was really a problem at the beginning, especially when there's the one group and it disappears for a whole year before another group comes, and nothing happens for that period. Yeah, that causes a challenge, and maybe the fact that I was at least there was a permanent face in me in that.
Yes.
I could still tell people
Yeah.
that there was something going on.
Yeah.
That's important. So it means that if you making periodic trips, you need to find a communication mechanism that ensures that there's somebody on the ground that keeps the people
Exactly.
informed
Then
what's
introduce
going
you.
on at the
Take
back
them.
end of the stage,
Yeah.
how it will impact the future.
I did know there was that other agent. Did you ever hear that group, Partnership for Productivity, that worked out of, what's the town above Kisumu? Kakamega. Did you ever hear of them?
Yes, yeah, I had a
Yeah.
yes.
They had a good go at it there and for a long time, but I don't think they really brought a lot of Kenyans into the process to operate the program, and we really made that decision that it was pragmatic. I mean, it's one of those things that's so crucial. The home offices has one job: support the field staff, period. The field staff are not there to make the life of the person in the home office easier. That's why going into the field is a good idea. Anyway, the change agent role. Again, Ronald, would you have any comments about that? You serve as a change agent yourself in your community. Yeah, because, you know, you've gone through, you've got the education, you work in your housing and architectural business, but they still look to you as a leader in the community even though you're on a go-and-come basis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that does. You know, if you come from the community and you are concerned about what's going on in the community, and you playing the role of the change agent, I think it's a difficult role to play. It has its challenges, it has its,
Yeah.
you know, the good things that come with it. But I think it's an important role to play. But it's a difficult role to play. It needs a lot of commitment because most of the time as a change agent, I believe you are the first person who, you're the vision carrier at the beginning, in that you start off by telling people where you think this is headed. It's upon you to persuade, not really force people, but open their eyes
Yes.
to where they want, where you think they should go,
Right.
so that they can then make the decision
Yeah.
to go that direction.
Yeah.
And I think that period before that happens, so they take up that role. It's important for you to play that role very delicately. And of course, as if you are the change agent, anytime they have a bit of a challenge, they look back and say, are we still on the same track? You need to be there and tell them, yeah, you're going right. So.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Oh, by the way, would you, because you hear me, I'm using TechnoServe example. What was your experience with TechnoServe in Kenya? When were the years in that?
You're just turning me into the speaker for this session. I was in TechnoServe.
I get tired as the rest of these people do hearing me talk.
Yeah, I was in TechnoServe for like a year. I think the best thing that TechnoServe ever taught me is that business approach to solving problems, social problems. So that yes, you wanted to do good, but you wanted to do good in a way that it could be sustainable, that you catalyzed a way of doing things that could be taken up by the market, so to speak. So you actually were catalyzing a process that would go on even if you're not there.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the idea you're talking about it. Water for what? It's not just water for drinking. It needs to be water for transformational change. You know, if people are not feeding well, they're not even worried about the water they are drinking. So you want to ensure that even as you focus on the core thing of delivering potable water and all the other nice, is there a way that can also spur other developments along the way? And is that something you can do as the same organization, or Will that spread you too thinly? You need to collaborate with other organizations to do that. And I think that's one thing that TechnoServe did very well. They just stood there as a kind of like a signboard and directed you. Is your problem money? We can take you to the financial institution. Is your problem markets? We can help you solve that. Do you have problems with supplier linkages? We can do that. Do you have problems with like training and what? We can help you do that. And when you did all that, you're on your own. You move on.
Yeah. That really fits it. I mean, but we didn't come in, that wasn't rocket science. We learned that from the people we were trying to assist. It didn't work the same way when we went and represented them. Because even if, I remember doing that with Barclays Bank Foundation in Ghana particularly, and they were always delighted to see us. We'd bring our Ghanaian colleagues in and they said fine, and they'd make the loan, and they would always write it up that TechnoServe has given this money to do this with the people, and then when we'd leave the project, there wasn't any banking relationship with Barclays, because the foundation put money into the projects, but then the people had their accounts in that at Barclays, and it didn't work the same way. I did remember the name of that enterprise that relates to exactly the same thing. What I told you about the big ranching business, that's Keys Ranching Title Limited. And the way that worked that involved water, we needed to figure out, talk about the environmental side of this, feature this. There were about, over that 1 million hectares that were wide open, there were about, in the beginning, I think about 2,700, 3,200 animals of various qualities, and mostly Boran, but not necessarily high quality. Boran is like, you know, Angus in East African terms. And the grass process, the feed process was all open range, but it was a lot of competition. Why? Because there were literally an estimated 600 to 700,000 head of wild game in the same area where the cattle were being raised. The marvel is that the Maasai and the Somali herdsmen, you didn't have rifles, you didn't have fences, you didn't have anything. Predators would not go near the cattle when they were there. They knew. We did a water project, ultimately. We found from scientists, agronomists and others, crop scientists, that there were certain species of grass that were highly nutritious that cattle would eat, and that the wild animals wouldn't. I always wondered how that worked when I'd see the migrations, you know, like you see in the Serengeti and so on. How do they all figure it out? Well, they all tend to eat different things, except for those that eat the ones eating the grass. And it was really interesting. We then took a shot at running a very small line, water line, out of the spring and down, because there was a gradual descent down toward Mount Kilimanjaro, a long way away, but we could move it and then do offshoots and collect the land in a way and grow those particular grasses, and then, magic, convince the people, because their cattle were branded, and this was at weaning the process, they all mixed their herds and brought them into that one area. The game were still there. The only separations in the area were fire breaks. And we put it in caissons and then pump it a little further, you know, using everything from little solar type stuff just to gravity flows on it with you know, hydrostatic pressure moving the water. And that allowed us to grow that, and then we could do it fallow and move it to another area, and it worked extraordinarily well. So there was a major water input. When it came to marketing, we basically had to use the cattle that started there as scrub cattle, which you would sell to generate cash to afford the time that you need to breed the high-grade cattle. And that was a high-grade version of Brahma and Boran and cattle. Marketing, we worked on at the beginning. We knew where markets would be. And the most amazing one was the market for the cattle, if they got it up to grade, the United Arab Republic would buy it all. If the slaughtering house would be built, the abattoir would be built facing Mecca. And we had to bring in an imam who would basically make it kosher. and built it up. The last I heard on that the people had done very well. They merged all of their interests. They still have their land. They still operate it. And I think the herd ultimately got up to 50 or 60,000 head of cattle, all exported. And it worked very, very well. Another example of that, water. I worked in Botswana on a World Bank funded endeavor on an evaluation of Livestock 1-2, and Livestock 1, first loan. And that was geared to the FAO drilling a whole series of boreholes in the quasi-desert areas of Botswana. Botswana had more cattle with no herdsmen or anyone than they had people, but they didn't have water. So the FAO came in and drilled all these wells, boreholes and so on, for the cattle, and it eventually failed because the cattle stayed closer and closer to the water, grazing in and out, and created deserts around every single one of the boreholes as a result. That's, you learn. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we've been talking sort of about change agents and how when we look at a community, what's the one thing that seems to be what's going to move them to the next level as far as development. And I can only speak for Quisero, but I'm sure it's a similar case for a lot of chapters. When you look at Quisero, we were talking about how education and food production are the main things that any family is looking for.
Right.
And when you look at Quisero, I mean, a lot of things that's preventing them from education and preventing them from more food production is policy. And the way things have been, set in stone there for so long. And
Policy locally or policy nationally, government?
Sort of both. And I would say it kind of creates sort of like this, we have this division between the rich and the